Hi, I'm Arthur Moats, and I'm here to talk to you about my book, The Moats Theory of Life, and the amazing holiday deal we have going on right now. If you purchase a hardback book, you will receive a paperback copy half off as part of our holiday bundle. This book makes for a great gift for yourself or others and will leave you feeling inspired and impactful. So go to moatstheory.com right now and get your copy so you can start living a more fulfilled life. What's up? It's the Arthur Moats Experience with Deke. I'm Arthur Moats, and that's my main man, Deke.
What's up, bro?
You know how we do this thing.
What?
Listen, I know it's the holiday time. I know people are going to be watching this. Now, it's holiday. It's going to be a different intro this time because it's the holiday season. But it's not, because it's another episode brought to you by DRAFTKINGS Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook and app. And for all the first-time users, if you use the promo code MOATS, you will receive up to $1,000 in deposit bonus money. So download the app, use the promo code, and get an opportunity. Just an opportunity. Get the opportunity to make a little money, baby. Now that that's done, man, I'm excited, baby. Come on, man. It's the holiday season. You see, I am very festive. I got my shout out to Steel City, the ones who, the Arthur shirt, Arthur to Arthur.
You always got some gear from them.
But this time, I went and searched them. I was like, I like the quality of the material. I like this local.
Yeah.
And I want to support the local economy, especially during a pandemic. And I found this nice here Steel City Christmas themed or holiday themed sweatshirt. It's very comfy, breathes well. I like it, man. Got the little lights on it, bro. It's festive, and that's you got the little corduroy going on. Like, you're festive as well. Not festive colors, but still festive though.
Nah, this is like the same type of stuff I wear every time.
No. You usually are in here in like silks and polyesters. This is corduroy. This is festive attire by you.
Okay.
So I don't want that to go unnoticed.
I'll take your word for it.
and do we get taco meat as well?
I don't know. You tell me. I can't really tell.
I don't really know because I'm like, is it half shaved? Is it fully shaved? I'm scared to.
No, I don't shave that.
No. The only reason, most people don't shave the eyebrows either.
You just thought maybe I was like on one.
You just never know. I'm like, maybe he's going through it and he's like, you know what? Everything's changing. Half hair, half eyebrow, half sock. You know what I mean? Like, you just never know.
Like when I talked about rock bottom.
Right. Like,
just
are you
really
all
get to
the
that
way
point.
there?
Yeah.
Like I was about to say, are you smoking Newports? Like, is that the next evolution of Deke's, 2020 Steeler journey? Like, you just never know.
No, Paul Moss.
Yeah. Jeez. Oh, man.
Those are a little bit cheaper.
There we go. I like it. Cost effective right there, man. Very, very cost efficient. I can respect it. But, man, a couple of things that we got to talk about, man. We should have talked about this when we recorded the other day. Totally slipped my mind. Obviously, I be having a lot going on. Forgive me. Please forgive me.
And it's the holidays, yeah.
Definitely is, man. Holiday season is crazy. But first off, man, couple of announcements. First off, with the podcast, we got some merch now, man. We got the Arthur Moats Experience with Deke hoodie, men's shirt, and women's shirt, and coffee mug for the coffee drinkers out there. When you're looking at the videos now, it should be popping up. I believe it would have popped up on last video as well, but it's starting to pop up now where you'll be able to access the store website right on YouTube and go in there and, support the cause, man. And we're going to be obviously doing some awesome things in the community with the proceeds from there, man. So, if you're a true A1 day one, if you're a true, die-hard Arthur Moats Experience with Deke podcast listener, if you shaved the eyebrow, you should definitely support the cause. So that's the first thing, right? It's exciting time. All right, the second thing we got to talk, man, we got Pro Bowlers. We got some Pro Bowls, baby. We have 5 Pro Bowls. We're gonna dive into the Pro Bowl conversation a lot more, but I at least wanted to acknowledge those guys because this did get announced. So the 5 Pro Bowlers from the Pittsburgh Steelers for the initial vote, right? Because we obviously know that, between injuries and opt-outs and stuff like that, that other players will potentially be voted in. But the 5 that we have are Marquise Pouncey, David DeCastro from the offense. And then on defense, you have Cam Hayward, TJ Watt, and Minkah Fitzpatrick. And funny thing, for 4 of the 5, they're voted in as starters as well for their positions, which is huge, man. When you think about, being a starter in the Pro Bowl and the other players that are either getting into the Pro Bowl or you got voted in above those guys. I mean, it's a very significant honor. Now, granted, they won't play the game this year, but it's still a significant honor. So we want to tip our cap to those guys. And we'll dive into that a little bit more in terms of snubs and who we think should be on and not on and things like that. But the last thing we got to talk about, it's a lot more sad, man. We lost the legend. We lost the legend over the weekend, or not even over the weekend, Monday night, man. It was crazy. Kevin Greene, former Steeler, NFL Hall of Famer, passed away. Man, was it 58 years old, man? Very untimely. Still not a lot of details surrounding what happened. But, man, just thinking about him and what he means to not just the Steelers, because I feel like in Pittsburgh, we're a little selfish, right? We're like, yo, that's our guy.
Yeah, because we got him for what, 3 seasons?
We had 3 years. Yeah, he was
badass.
I think it was like 35 sacks in 3 seasons. It was nuts. I'm like, bruh, holy cow.
Yeah.
Like crazy. But, you know, like I said, we always hold him really.
I think he went into the Hall of Fame as a Steeler.
Yeah, he went in as a Steeler. Absolutely. He definitely did. And I remember us as players being like, yo, that's kind of dope that he was only here for 3 years. He played, you know, obviously in other places, had a ton of success, but he wanted to go in as a Steeler. Like, you respect the heck out of that. But, man, just even his impact from an NFL standpoint, man, because for me, I tell people all the time, like, my memories of Kevin Greene aren't as a Steeler, it's more so as a Panther. You know what I mean? I was never the big like Steeler fan growing up anyways. But man, I always would just look at this dude. I'm like, man, even in his later years, he was still a double-digit sack guy consistently. And then to see how he transitioned into being a coach and the success he had in Green Bay, and you see Clay Matthews and what he was able to do under his tutelage, man, I was always just really really honored by that. You know what I mean? To be able to say, man, I share the same uniform as this guy. Like, he was a Steeler, I was a Steeler, man. And to see just his growth and evolution even after the game, man, to see him, you know, pass away like he did untimely, man, it's crazy. It's very unfortunate. But I just think about, man, my first time I got a chance to meet this dude. I'm in Pittsburgh. I think it's my second year here now. And we're about to play in a game. I'm in warm-ups. So typically, typically the Steeler legends, they're always around, man, with this facility, charity events, you're always bumping shoulders with guys. So typically, you know, you don't have to get too out of your element to rub shoulders and have conversations. But with Kevin Greene, I had never had a chance to meet him before, right? Big fan of him. I've never had a chance to meet him. And we're warming up for this game, and I see him out there with his gold jacket. And I'm like, yo. I look, I'm like, yo, that's KG right there. And Peasy always give a story. Oh, that's the wild man right there, man. Let me tell you, boy, you know, he get the hair and that. You know how Peasy get when he get his story time. So I'm gassed up. I'm like, yo. God, it's him. It's really him. You know what I mean? Like, that's that guy. As an edge rusher, like, you respect that. Like, you might not love the team he's playing for, but you respect him as an edge rusher, right? So I'm sitting here in the warm-up, so I'm like, bro, I got to get focused. I got this game. But I'm like, dog, I need this picture. No. I need to go shake my hand. I gotta go shake his hand. I gotta get this picture. Funny thing, I'll never forget it, man. And I remember we're going through our warm-ups, we're going through our tackle line, right? And as the linebacker, it's like the big thing. Like, typically it's recorded right before we do that, and then we do hoorah, right? Hoorah, we ride, hoorah, we ride. So everything is happening right there. And I hops out the line. Wow. I hop out the line, I walk over to him, shake his hand, I'm like, yo, Mr. Greene, man, I just want to tell you, big fan of you, man. Crazy respect. And if it's okay, I swear, this is what I said, if it's okay, can I get a picture? He's like, right now, I'm like, yeah. Like, I don't care about this game. I don't care about this warm-up. I need this picture with you. And sure enough, I took the picture with him, man. Like, I think we had a random fan just take the picture because obviously, like, I ain't have my phone on me and stuff like that. But we have people that are on the sideline where there's still a personnel. Some of the fans are allowed to be down there, but literally snap the pic. It's like, yo, send that to me. This is my info.
Got
Get
some airdrops
like,
going.
Like, seriously, man. And then from there, when I didn't play the game, I can't tell you if we won the game or lost the game. I just remember the picture, man. I'm just like, yo.
What was it? Was it because he was in the Hall of Fame jacket, maybe? Have you done that with other players before, other former players?
Like, literally, the only other player I've talked to pre-game was Charles Haley, and that was at the Hall of Fame game. So we already knew going into the game. I'm like, bro, I'm only going to be out here for like 7 plays tops. So it wasn't even that type of vibe. And we know with the Hall of Fame game itself, because you're going to have 5 preseason games, a lot of the starters aren't playing in that anyway. So for me at that time, I wasn't even going to be playing in the game. So I'm like, oh, man, Charles Haley, he's a JMU dude. He literally just got inducted the night before.
Wait, he went to JMU?
Yeah, absolutely.
Really?
Yes,
I did not know that.
Absolutely. Yeah, so for me, I'm like, bro, of course I'm going to get this picture. So it wasn't even that type of vibe. But with Kevin, it was different because I'm like,
you felt like a fan.
Like yeah. Like the fandom hit. I was like, yeah.
And he's been the only one.
Yeah, because literally, like, the only one that I've had in stadium. Then obviously, you think about this for our pre-games. We've had Wiz Khalifa out there. We've had Mac Miller, God bless his soul as well. I mean, we could go down the list of celebrities that are coming. I mean, you think every week,
yeah,
and it's always gonna be a new celebrity. Those guys don't budge. I'm like, all right, cool. Like, what's up? All right. And literally, they're right where we want. Like, where they do the terrible towel wave at, that's literally right where linebackers warm up at for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So you see them the whole time. And I was like, all right, man, y'all here for me. I ain't here for you. You know what I mean? So it's a different vibe, but I don't know, man. I seen him out there. He had the cowboy boots on too. I'm like, PC said he got the cowboy boots. Here we go. And dude, I like I said, I just don't forget that moment, man. Seeing him, cowboy boots, big burly chest. I'm like, bro, he look like he's still bench pressed. Don't do leg day, but he bench pressed right now. Like, he still got that look. And I remember as soon as I took the picture, I come back. P's just looking at me like, all right, I'm gonna let you slide. Like, P, you already knew what it was, man. Don't trip.
That's hilarious. Because you had, whenever you came here, like Polamalu was probably like the top guy you looked up to, but he's on your team and everything.
Well, no, and this was the thing. Honestly, for me, when I came here, I was more starstruck for Harrison than Polamalu. Okay. Like, Polamalu was cool because the commercials, but my sister was always the Steelers fan. So she was diehard Polamalu. Like, even when I played in Buffalo, we played Pittsburgh the year before, I think it was 2013, brought her to the game. She was losing her mind because Troy was on the field. And then the following year we're teammates. So I'm like, it was more so just like, dang, this is cool that a legend in the game, a future Hall of Famer, even like has these conversations and respect for me on day one, not after I've made plays, which is day one. So it was different with Debo though. That scenario is different because like
he's who you looked up to.
Right, this is the guy that I was studying his tape. Yeah. I studied his tape my first 4 years in Buffalo. Like literally every run play, every pass play, him in coverage, rushing, it didn't matter. So you like it's a different like him and Clay Matthews were the guys that I just like almost obsessed over in Elvis Dumerville.
Okay.
Like those are my three guys, all very similar builds in terms of shorter guys, get off, hand placement, good leverage guys, stuff like that, man, productive players. So those were more for me. But yeah.
Kevin Greene was just the one off though. Just bro, randomly. That's hilarious.
And his fire. Like that's the thing, bro. You watch him play, you saw the fire he had. And then you watch him coach. And I think that was also the carry because who was I watching? I saw you Clay Matthews. And Clay Matthews' best years were under Kevin Greene. Kevin Greene was his position coach.
It's lining up a little bit.
So everything for me was like, dude, all right, I watch this guy because he's being taught by this guy. I know what this guy can do on the field because I've seen him do it for so long. Even when he left for a year, came back and still gave you a 12-piece. Like, so for me, that was always in my mind. So when I got that chance, like when it finally came full circle, I'm like,
yeah, it just made sense. Okay,
yeah, I'm like, I got Debo I'm about to run in this tackle line with. I really ain't trying to do that no way. I'm like, I got Kevin Greene over here who taught the guy that I was watching in terms of Clay Matthews. I'm already a fan of Kevin Greene. I don't know when I'm gonna see him again. I'm gonna go do it.
Yeah,
right, wrong, or indifferent. So I did it, man.
That's awesome. That's a great story.
I did it, bro.
Yeah, and I looked up some of the highlights the day he passed, and the whole legend with it's like him and Greg Lloyd, that defense.
Yeah.
And yeah, you could see it's just a cool like 90s vibe with them too, and just what the defense meant. Because like he was before my time, so I don't really have like that connection with him as I would maybe some of these guys in the mid 2000s that I grew up with in terms of some of the defensive players with the Steelers. But from everything I've heard, your story, yeah, like great guy on and off the field, all that type of stuff. So yeah, it was definitely unfortunate. Steelers lost the legend,
man. Absolutely, man. So like I said, man, RIP to young Kevin Greene. Give a moment of silence for him too. I like it, baby. I like it. So you ready to dive into this matchup, or you want to talk Pro Bowlers first though?
It's up to you. I wasn't prepped for the Pro Bowl.
Okay. Because I didn't even think about it. I just wanted to announce it, and then as I was announcing, I'm like, I know I saw you put something about some snubs, and I wanted to give you a chance to clarify.
I had a couple snubs. Yeah.
So do you want to start? We can start.
Sure. Here was my thing.
I don't even have the rest of the Pro Bowl list. Let me pull that up too. Right.
I thought Ben was snubbed, but obviously I said that before the Monday night game, then everyone's getting on me because he was having a bad game and all this and that. I still feel the same way. I mean, 30 touchdowns, 10 picks. I think just based off the passing numbers, they're comparable to Watson, if not better, depending on how you want to look at it.
Because that would be the only one. It would be Deshaun. I was going to say, like...
Because he has the rushing yards. Yeah. Deshaun has the rushing yards and everything, and this is not a knock against Deshaun Watson. Ben's my guy. We got the better record and all this type of stuff. Him coming back from the elbow surgery. Like, it's... I'm going with Ben. So that's kind of why I felt he was snubbed. And then here's the thing. The game happened on Monday night after I said that, after the Pro Bowl things were happening. And, remember how we talk about time and place and everything? Then everyone just starts getting on me like, oh, take this shit back.
I will say this. The NFL.com, they actually even put out a list of the 10 players who really deserve Pro Bowl honors and got snubbed. They had a list of 10 people.
Yeah.
They talk about the Sadian in New Orleans, Trey Hendrickson. I think he has 12 and a half sacks on the season. He's tied with Aaron Donald for the league lead. He didn't make the Pro Bowl. Zach Cunningham, inside linebacker for the Texans. I think it's 137 tackles, 3 sacks, couple passes defended. He was number 2 on the list, didn't make it. Robert Tonyan's tight end from the Packers, didn't make it. Devin White, young linebacker with the Buccaneers, didn't make it. He's on this list. At number 5, it's a quarterback.
Who is it?
Ryan Tannehill.
Get out of here with this. He's playing good too.
This is what they said too. They say quarterback is another position that is constrained by the numbers game because it's a lot of quarterbacks like we're talking about.
There's been good players.
But they said Tannehill is right on the heels of Deshaun Watson for the 3rd quarterback spot in the AFC. The two have nearly identical passer ratings, while Tannehill is just one of 6 passers with 30 plus passing touchdowns at this stage of the season. Of those 6, only one other quarterback didn't make the Pro Bowl, and that's Tampa Bay's Tom Brady, who also owns a solid case for an NFC bid, though Kyler Murray's dual threat explosiveness pushed him into the final spot. But Tannehill has been well worth the $118 million extension he signed this offseason and should be a Pro Bowler next year is what they said.
He's had a good year. It's whatever. I'm rolling with Ben. It's my guy. I'm shameless about it. I really don't care.
I'm with you, bro. Because I would say they definitely don't have him up.
Well, dude, here's the thing too. And I've said this whenever I was calling out all the Ben haters and stuff. Like, dude, he was in the mix for the MVP, top 3 or 4, and then he had a bad game against the Bills, and then the Pro Bowl voting came out before the Bengals game anyway.
So you know what
I mean? The Pro Bowl results. Mm-hmm. So that's the point I said he was snubbed. And, all right, now we have 2 back-to-back bad games. I still think he's snubbed.
But I will say, this is the only reason why I don't think he's snubbed, man. Deshaun Watson's been cooking.
Dude, he's been fine. Here's the thing. What should I be saying, though? It's like...
You can say he deserved to be a Pro Bowler, but to me, snub means somebody got in over him that he was better than. In between Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, and Deshaun Watson, I don't see Ben this year better than those 3 guys. That's all I'm saying.
You could point to team success. You point to, like I said, the touchdowns.
Okay.
They said with Tannehill, what was he, 30 plus?
Yeah.
Ben had 30. That's more than Deshaun Watson. I know he has the rushing ability though, and all that type of stuff. But yeah, I'm gonna roll with Ben. But as to a fault, that's just me being shameless about it. I don't really care. I'm rolling with 7.
I can dig it, man.
Like I said before the Bengals game, if you want to take that out of it, then that's when the results came out.
Which is fine.
So,
for me, I think you're focusing more so on those 2 games as if that was, I think more so because like social media people have like,
dude, it is. And
that's why.
I told you that type of stuff pisses me off.
Like to me, it didn't matter any of these games. We could have went to the Bills game before the Bills game or even before the Washington game. Those were the 3 guys that I didn't have an issue with. But to me, I probably would have went Tannehill over Deshaun Watson.
Really?
Yeah. I thought Tannehill's played better longer. Whereas Deshaun, probably like past 5-6 weeks.
Yeah, he had a rough first 4 or 5
yeah.
weeks.
But to me, that's the biggest difference. I'm like, Tannehill has been playing well all season. We've seen it. I mean, recently, early on, it doesn't matter. Like the full body work is there. Whereas with Deshaun, like I said, early on, definitely struggled. Now, granted, I will say Deshaun is more impressive though, because out of every quarterback that we've just talked about, he probably has the worst offense out of all of them. In terms of, man, they don't have it. I mean, the running game for them, we talk about our running game. Theirs is very similar. You know what I mean? You talk about our receivers. Who is their best receiver? We broke that down when we played them. Remember that. So to me, that's the only thing I can see in terms of why they would give him the nod over at Tannehill. I just don't think that Ben was going to be with those guys, though, man. I just didn't see it right now.
You know what?
Teachers don't know, man.
No, 100%. That's my point. I'm rolling with my guy. I'm staying loyal. I could really give a shit. And if we're saying it's close, then I'm going with Ben. That's all.
Yeah.
So I got to say snub. I guess that's the phrasing you got to use.
That's the thing, because you think it was close. To me, it wasn't close. That's why I keep saying I don't think it's a snub. I'm like, I didn't think it was close. I thought Ben was 5th at best right now.
But you could say comparable to those guys. No. Let's just say when
you said with Watson, but you have to take away the rushing. I'm like,
let's just
can't take away that. So that makes that not comparable.
Different style of quarterback though.
But he still passes the ball.
But team success though with the Steelers, can we consider that though?
No.
Quarterback's job, win games,
Why would I
leader of the
consider
team.
team success? It's an individual award.
Dude, I told you though. I really felt like he was
That's like when we were 11-0 and everybody was like, we're the best team in the NFL. And we talked about how, man, all right, we're winning, but we have flaws. And people were getting mad. And we're like, well, the Chiefs are still a legit, feel like they're the best team in the AFC. People still didn't want to hear that. Record. And here we are 3 weeks later, still hollering record. Like, to me, I'm saying, I don't care about what the team success is. I want to know what you did. Don't tell me what you.
And he's played good, and that's my point. Okay. I thought he's played good. I really have, except for these past 2 games, the Bills and the Bengals game. Okay. So I'm not trying to knock the whole season based off those two. I think the timing sucks more than ever.
Just for you.
Whatever.
Social media people got you bothered, bro. You can tell, man. Because every time you bring it up, you keep talking about these last 2 as if that made an impact. You said it yourself. The votes came out before that.
That's what all these clowns are talking about.
But the votes came out before that. The vote, it was already done deal before those games. That's my thing.
That's what I mean. That's why I think it could have been a snub. That's my point. Up to before those 2 games, like we were talking about him for MVP. I told you Vegas odds. I had him in the top 4 or 5, man. So I don't see why he wouldn't be in the mix for a Pro Bowl.
All right.
That's what I'm saying. These last 2 games isn't right off the season.
I just like how people act like we don't know what goes on in Vegas, though.
Huh? What do you mean?
All right. What's going to get you to bet more? If we put Ben up there and have good odds, or we have Tannehill up there with odds?
I don't know if that's necessarily the case. It can be.
That's why they move the spread. We talk about even lines on a Monday versus a Saturday, but it's all good. I ain't mad. Everybody,
I don't know if anything.
Opinion,
I think Ben's way more unpopular around the league in terms of like voting for MVPs and stuff. People like a lot more like the young talent.
You're talking national. We're talking about, you said Vegas, like the betting element.
Yeah,
they know the Steelers have a strong fan base. One of the top 2, top 3, however you want to debate it, fan bases in the NFL. It's no different when they say things about Dallas or if they do things with Brady. It's certain people, certain fan bases. They know if we say this,
we don't. I don't know. We don't know any. We don't know any of this for a fact though, because we could look at like who gambles, or maybe it's the people playing fantasy sports or stuff like that.
Vegas is Vegas for a reason. Everybody gambles in Vegas. What are you talking about?
That's what I mean. Everybody. I don't think it's just strictly Steelers. I'm telling you,
as an NFL as a whole, the Steelers are one of the marquee franchises, one of the biggest fan bases. So if you're just gonna play the game of I don't know who's watching, aren't you going to lean towards the 4 most popular fan bases?
I'll tell you this.
That just makes sense from a marketing standpoint. That's all.
But you could say either way, though. Ben has some detractors within Steeler Nation as well.
Why are we making all these excuses?
I'm not. No.
What am I missing here? Are you?
I'm just laying out the facts that he was top 4 or 5 in the MVP race for a decent portion of the season here.
But we don't even know the MVP race. We know what Vegas said.
Huh?
With Vegas's race, not the MVP race. We don't know MVP.
National media were talking about it. They were talking about it.
This is the only reason I say we don't know, because if somebody were to say, hey, through Ben's 17 years, has he received the MVP vote? We would all assume the answer is yes. If they asked the same question about Russell Wilson, we would all assume the answer is yes. But clearly the answer for both of those guys as it pertains to MVP votes, they have never received a single vote. Think about it. Both of those guys are elite players. Both of those guys are future Hall of Famers, and neither have received a single vote. So that's why, to me, I don't care if the national media is saying it. That's not the official vote. That's speculation.
Sure, but then it comes down to who's getting the Pro Bowl votes and all that type of stuff, and who are they coming from? It's the fans, right?
Yeah.
So that goes to my other point. I don't think Ben's the most popular like around the league with just national media standpoint and just national fan standpoint. So that's why I'm thinking snub.
Hey, it's all good, man. Feel how you want to feel. I don't think it's a snub. So, all right. You ready for this matchup, though?
Wait, we got one more snub, dude.
Oh, what's the other snub?
Bud Dupree.
Well, I think he's injured. He's on IR.
I know, but like he should still be in there. They gave it to Matt Judon again. Like it's ridiculous.
No, but it's because he's on IR. I thought like that was the rule. Yeah, once you get put on IR, you're not eligible for the Pro Bowl.
Are you serious?
Yeah. So like you could be top 100. So that's why like the year when JJ Watt didn't even play a game that season, and he still was voted on the top 100. You can get voted on that. You can get voted to All Pro as well. But in terms of the Pro Bowl, this has been going on for a while, man. This has been going on for a while now. Yeah, if you're injured, they won't have you available for the Pro Bowl, as in even to get the honor. Like it's crazy.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I definitely thought he was snubbed.
If he was healthy, but that was my thing, because I saw him.
How'd Judon even make it, though? Like, I looked up his stats. He had 5 sacks this year. Something like that.
I don't know. I mean, really? How did Marquise Pouncey and David DeCastro make it?
No, I get it. Yeah, I mean.
I'm like, and I'm not taking a shot at them, but let's be real.
We've seen the line.
Exactly. And they've been hurt. Not just make it starters. Mm-hmm.
I know. I get it.
That's my only thing. I'm like, yeah, I can't explain that, and I definitely can't explain that.
Sure.
But either way, if Bud was available, yes, I think he should have made it without a doubt. But I think that from my understanding, it's because of him being on injured reserve, not just hurt, because his players could be hurt. But when you're on injured reserve, you're not even like the roster. Like, you're not technically on the roster anymore. You're like, on the injured reserve portion of it. You know what I mean?
Let's just say at this point, Spillane gets voted. He could be on the Pro Bowl list.
Yeah, because now he's on injured reserve as well, but he's on the return list, so he should be good.
Okay.
Yeah, but he's not returning. He's injured reserve official. So that's the difference.
Okay.
Yeah, because otherwise, yeah, without a doubt, definitely be a snub. Huge snub. Be a travesty. I mean, if you vote Matt Judon over Bud Dupree,
well, we thought it last year, too.
Yeah, without a doubt
that was
we did.
ridiculous last year.
Yeah, without a doubt we did, man. But it's still crazy to me, man. Like, I don't.
Why did he get voted? Just because he got it last year? Like, that has to be it.
Well, but then also,
I'm not saying he had a bad year last year.
My alternative is who else in the AFC, because we no Vaughn, no Bud.
Yeah, I'm not prepped for this at all.
That's what I was saying. Me, I'm like, yeah. Trying to think of AFC passers. I'm drawing a blank. You got a Bosa, but Bosa's already in there. Yeah, because the ones that I want to see who the ones.
I apologize. I shouldn't have brought up Bud then, man. That was the other guy I said he was snubbed.
No, I ain't tripping on him, man.
Yeah, I said both of those two because I was thinking Joe, but we know these AFC cornerbacks, man. It's like a tough room for that.
Absolutely.
Steven Nelson. I was thinking Terrell Edmonds, but you're only going to do 3 safeties. So
that's the thing that they get weird about too, in terms of how many at some position versus other positions.
I know the 3 safeties, that's really scarce. But I mean, if you're already going to be throwing Mink in there, I know there was 2 other good safeties. Tuitt maybe. Tuitt would be a decent one. Tuitt.
Yeah, how much time did he miss though? He missed what, 1?
He just missed one game. He has like 8 or 9 sacks. Like he's played really good this year.
Here we go. Is this the full list? Just trying to find the full. All right, there we go. For the AFC, the edge rushers they used in the AFC, you got T.J. Watt, obviously, Bradley Chubb, and Matt Judon. So they only went with 3 outside linebackers, anyways.
But Judon really sticks out there.
Yeah.
Like, I know Chubb and Watt have had good seasons, but
yeah. But I'm just like, I don't even know who else, because even on their snub list, they didn't even have an outside linebacker from the AFC as a snub.
Really? Because that's the thing. Like, even just saying Bud Dupree's a snub, there's got to be at least 3, 4, 5 other guys, outside linebackers, that have had more sacks than him in the AFC.
But I also want to know too, and like I said, we don't have all the info for that.
I've literally been filibustering here the past minute.
But no, also less about the sack number, but more so he has a ton of QB hits, pressure, stuff like that. That's not going to show up as stats. But yeah, I haven't seen anything though about another.
Are you trying to look up other outside linebackers?
No. I'm just trying the snub list that I had earlier. Yeah. I was trying to pull it back up. Here we go, just to see if they have an outside linebacker named on this list from the AFC.
Or even
the biggest one they keep talking about is the kid from New Orleans, because he, like I said, is tied for the league lead in sacks, and he doesn't have. He didn't make it.
Dude, I mean, how they're doing this voting process, you could just retweet shit on Twitter. I mean, it's not really detail oriented.
But no, that's only a part of it, because in Buffalo, Jordan Poyer led the league in Pro Bowl votes from the fans, and he still didn't make it.
Really?
Yeah. And that's happened multiple times.
So what is it? Is it players?
It's a mix of players, coaches, and fans. Okay. Yeah, because it happens in Buffalo multiple times. Actually, I remember Kiko Alonso, his rookie year, man. He was another guy, led the league in fan votes, did not make the Pro Bowl, bro. Yep.
Yeah, got nothing for this outside linebacker.
They're not even listing anyone else up there. It's crazy. They give you NFC guys. Like I said, you got the Saints guy, you got Shaq Barrett. Those are the 2 guys from the NFC, but they're not saying anyone from the AFC. So I don't know. Maybe it's a down year.
Okay.
Yeah. Interesting, though.
All right, we got the Colts matchup.
All right. You sure you're ready for this?
Yeah, I'm ready. Yeah.
All right, let's do this then. 10-4 Colts. Frank Wright is the head coach, 3rd year. A lot of key matchups, man. Offense and defense in this one, man. For me, start with the Colts offense, man. Obviously, people assume with Phillip Rivers, they want to just throw, but they are physical. They run that rock, man. They got 2 running backs, Nyheim Hines and Jonathan Taylor. Those dudes, man, you watch them on tape, man, great run demeanor, contact balance, patience, make guys miss. Very, very challenging out the backfield. And then up front, they have one of the premier offensive lines.
Bro, I'm watching these games. Yes, I'm like, wow.
Yes,
wow.
Dude. It's nuts. It's nuts.
Was this us like 4 years ago?
Yes, it was. Oh my God. Except we had way better quarterback play.
Pass protection.
Oh my God.
The run game, you could see these guys getting
It's
2-3 yards off the line of scrimmage here, and the
right?
holes that these running backs have.
It's crazy.
I was just like, wow.
Compared to what we've been seeing this year, where you're like, all right, as long as y'all stalemate, just don't lose. Just stalemate, we'll be okay. Like, they are moving people. And it starts up front with them, though, man. Quentin Nelson, premier guard in this league, man, one of the best to do it. Obviously, I mean, that whole offensive line, you can go down the list. They got a crazy center that's a beast, man. What's his name? Kelly, I think his last name. Yeah, Ryan Kelly. Yep, he's another one. Beast, man. They're just a very complete team. On offense, their biggest weakness is Phillip Rivers. That's, to me, it just depends on which Rivers you're going to get, man. If you get the Rivers that's accurate, that's hot, the streaky Rivers, then yeah, it's going to be a long day, man, because T.Y. Hilton and Zach Pascal, man, have been producing.
They've been heating up.
They definitely have. And they have a good rapport with Phillip, I feel like, too. But the flip side is sometimes Phillip will hit you in the face with the ball. Sometimes Phillip makes some bad decisions. Sometimes that arm look a little janky. It's really just depending on Phillip because, like you said, man, they don't get sacked a lot. They don't give a lot of pressure. Like, they do a good job up front, man. And they got guys that win, guys that are winning on the outside in terms of their routes, and they got a strong running game, man.
No, I think you put it good with Rivers because I'm watching it, and you see sometimes, and that's going to be the key, man. Like, between our defensive line and their offensive line, who's going to be winning this? Because I think if you get the pressure on Rivers, have him make some of these bad decisions, there's going to be 2 or 3 picks that are going to be available to us.
Like easy ones. Like, it's not crazy. It's more flirting with Eli Manning type. Like, will not see you and hit you square in the face with the rock, man. Like, not good.
And the games that they've lost, in all 4, they've had a turnover.
Yep.
And 3 of those 4, they've had multiple turnovers. But outside of that, they're one of the top 3 teams in the league of
crazy.
What would you say of
the turnover differential?
Yeah, turnover differential. Yeah, because on defense,
protecting the ball and creating turnovers.
Yeah, exactly. So they don't. With that being said, they don't give away a lot of turnovers here. They really don't. But in the games that they've lost, that has been a consistent element.
To me, when I watch them, I think of a higher end version of Washington. In terms of when you think about Washington's offense, they will take the shots when they need to, but they're going to make sure they protect the ball. They're going to run the ball. They're going to get their backs featured in the offense, protect them up front. Like I said, a higher end version because obviously Phillip Rivers is better than Alex Smith or Dwayne Haskins. Obviously, the running backs in Indianapolis are not a lot better, but they are better than the running backs in Washington. And obviously,
you're seeing with Taylor, man. He's coming on strong.
Like, he looks
really good.
Man, he looks good, dude. So to me, that's the thing. Like, when you think about when Washington, when they played, it's like, it wasn't this crazy tempo. It wasn't this crazy aerial assault. It was, man, just a traditional pro style offense, man. They're going to run, play action. You take the shots when they want to. That's what the Colts do. And honestly, they don't have to take a lot of chances because, like you said, they don't turn the ball over a lot. The games when they're winning, man, they don't turn that ball over. And they do a really good job of generating turnovers on the other end as well. But the challenge is going to be, man, how we respond. I think, number one, Vince Williams coming back is going to be huge. You know what he brings to the table from a physicalness, a toughness, just above the neck game. That's going to help out Avery Williamson a ton. Avery's going to be able to just go back to just playing football. Vince could tell him, hey, look, man, this is your gap right here. So from here on, dude, you just worry about what the formations are. I got you on everything else. That's also going to help out Marcus Allen because now Marcus, instead of having to play 100% of the snaps at inside linebacker, now he's going to be limited to situational plays, passing plays, where he's going to excel. Because the open field tackling on our linebackers versus their running backs is going to be critical. They're going to have ample opportunities where they're going to be one-on-one with these guys in the hole and on the perimeter. The tackling is going to be key. Marcus Allen, though, man, he's a great athlete. He can make those plays in space, especially on possession downs like that. So I do think that, man, as much as my eyes are going to be on that group, the inside linebackers, I do think with Vince coming back, they will be able to stand up a lot better than if he was not going to be in that lineup. And then up front, man, like you said, that's the battle right there. I mean, depending on how where do we start, man? I mean, you got these guys, like I said, man, with Ryan Kelly, Quentin Nelson, Anthony Costanzo, who's been doing this forever. I feel like they are solid up front, man. They, like you said, you talked about it. They don't give a lot of pressure. They do a good job of keeping him clean and moving guys off the ball. But that's what I want to see, like, because we fancy ourselves as really good against the run, especially when we're healthy. When we're at full
getting
strength.
Vince back, right?
Yeah, that's why I said full healthy. Yep.
Yeah.
Vince back. we fancy ourselves as downhill thumpers, guys that excel in terms of tackle for loss. We talked about Tyson now. He's been back for a couple of weeks. This is going to be their biggest test right now, man, just to see how they respond to that. Because if you don't make them one-dimensional, if you don't make this a game where Phillip has to pass the ball to move the rock, man, you're gonna be
because they're gonna be
a tough time.
Because they're gonna be balanced. That's the thing.
That's the thing. You want to make them one-dimensional, man.
Yeah. So yeah, it's either we get up a little bit and have them try to come back, start passing the ball, or we just got to completely stop the run, because that's what happened in the Titans game.
Yes.
Where Derrick Henry just completely went off on him. So can we say, hey, Benny Snell, why don't you have 200 yards this game? That would help. But no, like they got up early. Derrick Henry was going off, and the Colts weren't able to move the ball. But in all these recent wins that they've had, Taylor's been going off. So that's been a key element. Rivers has been playing good along with Taylor. So they've been balanced. And to your point, like if we could stop the run, I think that's probably the first thing. If you're gonna prioritize things, like stop the run first. Because I like our cornerback matchup against the receivers.
I do too.
I mean, obviously, like Stephon Diggs had our number whenever he played against us. But for the most part, our corners have been pretty solid.
But to me, this is the difference. Like T.Y. is really good. T.Y. is a one-trick pony. He is a vertical threat, or he's going to hit you on a deep over route. He's not giving you the routes that Diggs was giving. We saw Diggs would take you deep. Diggs was cutting up people on underneath routes. Stops Diggs. It didn't matter. Like, Diggs' repertoire in terms of what he's able to do from a route running standpoint is a lot more advanced than T.Y. Hilton. I like our matchup against T.Y. because, like I said, with Steven Nelson, Steven does a great job of rerouting guys. He does a great job of getting hands-on, disrupting their timing. That's the first part. So I'm confident with him, with those two guys being matched up. But then with Joe, we know Joe is the better athlete to me. Joe, his in-game experience, his playmaking ability, and how many times he's matched up with T.Y. as well. I'm confident in that too. I think that that's a situation where we'll be fine. But I feel like I only like it if they're one-dimensional and having to keep going back to it.
Yeah.
I don't like it when Joe and Steven got to worry about, tackling Jonathan Taylor as he gets to the perimeter. And now instead of them playing coverage first, they're playing run first, and they get hit with something crazy down the field. That's my biggest concern in that whole matchup right there, man.
No, for sure. Do we have is that the defense versus the offense, I guess? Do we have that all covered?
I feel like we do. I'm excited, though. That's going to be a good match. That's going to be dude. That is going to be a good match.
That's what I was thinking as I was watching their games and just doing some of the research. I'm like, this is a good team. You can't really, there's not really anything that's, oh man, so glaring. Like these guys are terrible at this or that. They're just, maybe they're a little worse at receivers than some of the top tier receivers in the league. Maybe Phillip Rivers is borderline top 10, top 15. But like as a team, they're solid and they play really solid. Yes. They don't do anything dumb.
Absolutely. I think to me, the one thing that I'm going to be interested in to see, and we're going to have to make this happen. We've struggled with mobile quarterbacks recently, right? Ryan Finley, he hurts a little bit with his legs, not only with the zone read, but some of the stuff where, nobody's there, he just pulls down and runs. We obviously know what Josh Allen was able to do a little bit on the ground as well. I want to see this scenario where, because our coverage is doing what they're supposed to do, we create that hostile environment. That's going to be tough, but make him uncomfortable in the pocket. Because, man, when he's been pressured, he doesn't have the running ability. He's not going to be able to hurt you with his legs like that. So to me, I'm like, man, if we can make it where he's going to have to be using his legs, he's going to have to be getting bumped around a little bit. That is a scenario that is very positive for us. The problem is, like I said, it's creating that because their O-line does a really, really good job. But if we can create that chaos, that havoc, man, I think that it's a huge, huge advantage for us if we can do that, man.
No, for sure.
I like it. All right.
Now we got our offense.
Whew.
Versus their defense.
This is another good on good, man. I'm excited about this too.
Yeah, their defense is good. Yeah. Definitely their front seven, man.
Without a doubt.
Justin Houston, Buckner. You obviously have Darius Leonard too.
Yeah, without a doubt. They're pretty good up front, man.
This is probably the most, if you're gonna take all the position groups, this is probably the most interesting matchup of like.
Oh, without a doubt, yes.
Are we gonna bounce back here?
Yes.
And Colts have been pretty consistently good at defense and stopping the run. I mean, their weakness, I guess you could say, is probably cornerbacks because they've let some receivers go off them.
And they got some guys hurt. Obviously, Malik Hooker, he's been on IR as well, man. Yep.
Yeah, because they have two young safeties back there.
I was going to say, so the safeties are Kyrie Willis and Julian Blackman, and then the two corners are Kenny Moore II and Xavier Rhodes. Now, obviously, we know Xavier. Yep. his play has been a lot better this year, but obviously at the last year or two in Minnesota, it was kind of rocky. So it's going to be interesting to see just what that looks like if he still got that going on, man.
No, 100%. Big question. Can we keep the running game going?
That's going to be key.
Like, based off...
It's going to be key, but...
It's weird because based off the personnel matchups, you're probably thinking our line versus their defensive line.
Our line versus their front seven, or our line / running backs against their front seven, I don't like that. What I like is our receivers versus their secondary. Right. The biggest question right now is, what's Ben going to look like, right? Because we've seen, you said the past 2 games, it's definitely been down games for him. Less about how he's feeling, downfield passing. To me, just the simple timing stuff, right? The underneath, the drag route stuff, the timing of the ball placement, and his route. I mean, not route recognition, his coverage recognition, right? It was highlighted multiple times. We talked about it earlier in the week as well. Just him being fooled a little bit in coverage. Those are the biggest question marks to me. I'm like, if Ben is accurate and on time with his underneath passes, his short and intermediate passes, if Ben is sharp in terms of his above the net game and not allowing the coverages to fool him, I feel like that is enough to stress them out. But the problem is, like you said, man, we got to see if we can consistently do that for 4 quarters. That's the problem right now, man.
What do you think about this run game, though? I like the momentum that we had from last week, maybe going into this week. The problem is, like I mentioned, is just their defensive line and their players.
Yeah.
Like, could you somehow, maybe with Benny Snell, dude, could he be the X factor here?
I mean, I hope, but I don't have a lot of faith in it. Because, and this is the thing, man. They, like I said, you talked about it. You seen it on tape. We're trying to convince ourselves that our running game that magically worked a little bit against the Bengals is all of a sudden going to give it to this Colts defense that we know if we were talking about passing, man, we could go there because we know they struggle a little bit on the back end. The injuries, it happens. But the thing they do really well is stop the run, man. That like their front seven is definitely the strength of that defense, man.
There was some comment I saw on one of these games I was watching. They said the only 100-yard rushers they've allowed over the past 2 years or something like that.
Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
Yes, that's it. Just think about that, bro.
So yeah, outside of that, they're pretty damn good against the run.
So that's why for me, it's like as much as I'm excited about what the running game looked like, and as much as I would want that to happen again, I'm just having my doubts because the reason I'm torn is this too. I'm confident.
Wait, is Dotson back?
So this is the thing. So we're waiting to find out about Dotson. But even last week, they didn't solely. You're looking for your word. It's empty.
It's empty anyway. Never mind. It's just a habit. Empty. I think it's like I'm a little thirsty. I need to go for it. But no, it's empty.
But even last week, they used the mix. It was a combo of J.C. Hassner and Derwin Gray at left guard. And actually, Derwin played really well at left guard, man. He had the big Benny Snell run play. It was actually Derwin, man. He was in there moving dudes out, man. It looked good. I was surprised because obviously he's a tackle by trade.
I was going to say, can he play right tackle? We put him at right tackle. We bring in Dotson.
He was definitely a tackle, but they put him at left guard. He started rotating. I think he had about 16 snaps on the offense. Obviously, JC, I think, was at 40. It was either 38 or 40, like in that range. But yeah, they definitely started rotating those guys, man. And like I said, from the little bit that I saw with Gray in the run game, he did move some people out the way. So I was like, all right. But it was the Bengals. That's my only issue. And it's still not a shot at the Bengals. Trust me. I mean, the Bengals, they won, tip your cap to them. But if you play that game 10 times, we know how the outcome is going to be. So to me, I don't look at that performance by Benny Snell on the offensive line against the Bengals as something that I'm anticipating going forward. I look at that more as an outlier. I think that they will struggle to run the ball against this front. And
what's success for you on the run? 60, 70 yards?
Think about this. Last week was success. We only had 80 yards rushing. Think about it. Yeah. We ended at 87 yards and Benny Snell had 83 of them or 84 of them. Yeah. So it wasn't this crazy rushing, but it felt good, right? It felt effective. So to me, effective running. It could be 60 yards. It could be 80 yards. Effective running. Remember when we played Washington, right? We said they ran the ball effectively against us. They only had about 60 yards on the ground. Tops. So it's not this has to be over 100, and I don't think we will get over 100 rushing. But if we can effectively run that ball, and when we talk about effective, I'm talking when it's second and short, third and short. If it's fourth and short, we need that yard that Coach Simon always talks about. We're consistently getting those. Goal line. We need to punch it in. We saw it happen last week. That's effective running. If we need to, man, off tempo, give them a draw run, off tempo, counter run. That's effective running just to keep them on schedule.
It was working last week, dude.
So to me, it doesn't have to be crazy, just effective, because effective is going to make them have to play us honest. If they play us honest, we can take advantage of them in the from a passing standpoint. Our receivers are going to give their corners trouble. I mean, our receivers gave the Bengals trouble. We know this. They're there. They're good to go. They're ready to go. The two things we're going to have to look at, number one is Ben. Like I said, what is he going to look like coming in this game after back-to-back less than good performances, right? Or for his standards. For his standards. Yo, less than good.
You painted that pretty good, huh?
But for his standards.
Less than good.
Less than good. Oh, we always got to sound full.
You're dealing with the Ben fanatic here. You gotta soften the blow, huh?
But that's the first part. And then the second reason why I said I'm still a little 50-50 with the run, in terms of not even 50-50, but another reason why I don't feel very optimistic about it is, if James Conner is available, I don't know what's his full extent of that. Because remember, last week he was a late scratch in terms of not being able to play, dealing with the thigh injury, right? Coming back, we know this is going to be a physical game. If you go out there, it's going to be physical. I don't want the scenario where it's like Cleveland last year on a Thursday night game where we have a plan for James to use him.
It's happened how many games?
Multiple times, right? Yeah. So that's, to me, because we know for a fact they will formulate a plan around James being out there. And then if James goes out there for the first two series or the first quarter and the leg isn't where it needs to be, he gets hit again. Now we're stuck. Now we're trying to use Benny Snell and Jalen Samuels and McFarland for stuff that you had designed for James, and it's just not going to work out the way it's supposed to. So that's another reason why I don't feel as optimistic about the running game versus this particular defense.
Yeah.
Man.
That's why I'm feeling we just roll with Benny Snell. But it's still early in the week. We got to see what Connor's injury report is and stuff.
Absolutely, man.
Dude, I'm good with just rolling Snell rest of the year. I really am. But yeah,
I'm not opposed to it, man. We talked about that too.
We talked about this last podcast. Yeah, dude. I think you hit everything though. Like, if our receivers can win these matchups, Ben plays a better game. Yeah. Our line, I'm not that confident in our line. If we get Dotson, I love Dotson, man.
I know you bring him up a lot. You a Dotson guy. I'm with you.
So hopefully, if he comes back, man, yeah, that'd be great.
For me, oh man, I'm excited. I am still excited about this matchup, man. I just, when it comes to offensive line, just keep 7 clean. Like I don't want to say that I've lost hope with the run game, even though they had a good performance against the Bengals. It's just this matchup against this Colts defense.
We got 2 matchups here. Yeah, 2 good matchups.
That's the difference, man. So for me, keep 7 clean. I'm putting my eggs in the 7 being good basket. Right, wrong, or indifferent. We're going to live with it, we're going to die with it. We said that at the beginning of the year.
And that's what I'm thinking too. Yeah. Like I told you on the last one, I think the only way to go is up, and I'm optimistic about it. I don't know, because we could talk about their personnel versus our personnel, the X's and O's and stuff like that, based off these past 2 games. Anyone, that has watched it and is looking at reality, it's like, all right, we haven't looked good, but there's always there's always weird flips of switch with the NFL. Like, you can't explain, like, bro, wow, now we're on a hot streak here for these next 4 or 5 games. That kind of stuff happens in the NFL. Like, someone was bringing this up. I was on some type of message board. They said the Saints, when they won the Super Bowl, they lost 3 games in a row, something like that. I think it had more or less to do with, like, they already locked up their division and were resting and everything like that. But dude, it happens. It happens in the NFL. Losing streaks happen, and then all of a sudden, winning streaks can happen. That's why I'm keeping the faith, dude.
I like it. So, you about ready for them predictions, baby?
Sure. All
right.
I actually haven't thought about this at all.
All right. I will say this. I had a little funny thing, man. Before we give our predictions, this is probably the only team that I know uses 2 different quarterbacks in the NFL.
Dude, I can't believe this.
Do you see that? Like, if it's 3rd and 1 or 4th, if it's 3rd and short, Jacoby Brissett, and it's not just for quarterback sneaks. He's handed the ball off. He's bootlegged. He's like, it's crazy. I thought maybe it was a technique. I was like, man, maybe it's because the most recent game. Let me just go back. They've been doing this all season.
Yeah, or if maybe Rivers got banged up on that play.
No,
it's not. I see it on Red Zone on Sundays.
Yes.
I'm like, wait, is Rivers out for the season or something?
Like, what's going on?
Then I see him playing the next play.
And I thought, like, maybe it's just running players or just quarterbacks. Like, no, Brissett is back there throwing the ball audible. I'm like, oh man, this is nuts. So that is another thing where I'm like, I remember you said this earlier. You said you're not a fan.
I don't like that.
And I'm not either how they're doing it. I like it when you use it like with how Philly was doing with Hurts, how the Saints do with Taysom. I don't like when you're having this guy come in and try to play quarterback.
Is Brissett not? I mean, obviously they're a little different in styles. Just Brissett can move a little bit better, but
he's not a runner.
But that's what I was gonna say. It's not a Drew Brees to Taysom Hill difference or a Carson Wentz to Jalen Hurts difference. Where
this makes no sense.
It's similar enough where you're just like, what the hell are you doing?
I'm like, you're outthinking yourself. I'm like, so okay, because Phillip is in, we're not thinking quarterback sneak, but Brissett, now we're thinking quarterback. Like, what are we doing here, bro? This is crazy, bro. So I just had to throw that out there before we get these picks.
No, you're right. I was thinking the same thing.
Do you want to go first or you want me to go first, man?
All right. I'll go first.
All right.
Wow, 27 came to my mind. Is it a
funny?
sign?
I had 27 too.
Is
this is good.
Is it a sign?
It might be a sign. Might be.
People are calling for it again.
Calling for it.
I can't do that though.
No. You only got one eyebrow now. Yeah. That's a 2 eyebrow thing.
What do you mean? 2713?
Yeah, that's only for 2 eyebrows and a mustache.
Yeah.
You got one eyebrow and baby face.
Okay. I'm thinking the offense bounces back.
Okay.
4 touchdowns.
Woo! Okay, God. There he goes. That is the Deke that I know. 4 of them things. Shut up.
No.
Oh, I was just checking. No.
You
gotta check.
We were talking about this with me and my brother and my friends. We were like, bro, you should just come out 31-0 every time now.
I kind of liked it. I love the energy.
It is funny. 28 for the Steelers, though. 4 touchdowns. Benny Snell gets 1. Benny Snell, man, I think he teeters on that 100 yards. I think he gets close. I just got a feeling. Everything we talked about up to this point, yeah, I get it. The X's and O's maybe aren't pointing in that direction, but there's something about Snell. And if we get Dawson back, my man Dawson.
I like it.
Ben gets 3 touchdowns. One of them to Juju. Okay. You know what? For good time's sake, he danced a little bit in the end zone. And then defense, I'm feeling good about the defense. I'm saying 17. 28-17 Steelers.
I love how just elaborate and detail-oriented your pick was. I'm going to be short and sweet. Okay? Forgive me for I have sinned. I got the Colts 27-18, baby. I had to do it, all right? Hate me now, kill me in the comments. Hopefully I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong, ladies and gentlemen. Y'all know me. I picked the 16-0. This hurts me. But after these 3 weeks, man, all right, the 16-0 is over. So Deke has 1 eyebrow. I'm picking against the Steelers. Enjoy.
Score reversals, basically.
Absolutely, man.
What'd
Yeah,
you
1
say?
point off, man.
27-18. I said 28-17.
28-17, yeah.
Wow.
So that's that, baby. That is that.
So you're rooting, So you're rooting for the TikTokers. You're rooting for the social media people to be saying after Sunday, Moats, you're wrong, man.
I hope so. I want them to kill me in the comments.
Yeah.
Kill me in the comments. Yes, please. I don't want to be right this week. I do not want to be right.
This was the first one this year.
Yes.
The first pick against the Steelers.
It is. But on the lighter note,
does it switch up the mojo somehow, though?
We're going to find out. You know I'm not opposed to it. It's only weird if it doesn't work. We'll get to that, though. But what we do got to talk about, because we gave our predictions, you know it's only right. When we give our predictions, I got to talk about DraftKings. You know, DraftKings sports booking, America's top-rated sports booking app. Safe, secure, reliable. First time users, if you use the promo code Moats, you receive up to $1,000 in deposit bonus money. But this is a quick one. It's simple. It's real simple. We got Steelers and Colts this week. I don't want to talk about the spread. I don't want to talk about money line. Y'all hear how conflicted we were with our picks. We're still conflicted because we started talking about total points in the first half for the Steelers. And the odds are set. Well, the line is set at 10.5. Over and under. Deke likes the over.
Yeah.
Basically, the Steelers score 11 points or more in the first
11
half.
points.
Okay.
Simple.
It's
Simple
plus,
number to hit.
And you get plus 108 for those odds. And then the under is 10.5. So you just got to score under 11 points. And those odds are minus 152. Okay. Now, obviously, you get the better odds if you feeling a little froggy and you want to
froggy. What do you mean?
The leap. And then you have, not so, I mean, it's still decent odds. At minus 152, it's still decent for the ones that are a little bit more conservative in their approach, the ones a little bit more pessimistic this week, like myself. So that's up for you to decide. Either way, you hear right here, man. You see the duality of us. Either way, you can't go wrong. You got good odds for both of those things, all right? So if you're feeling confident, take the over. If you're not feeling a little confident, man, you think still start slow, take the under. Either way, you're going to be good. So with that being said, hope you enjoyed the show.
Definitely.
Hope you enjoy your holidays. Merry Christmas. Don't hate me. And until next time.
Peace.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I cannot wait for this next guest, man. I'm so excited. Good friend, man. If you're a Steelers fan, you know this guy right here. 15-year NFL veteran with the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Detroit Lions. Second round pick in the 1998 NFL draft to the Detroit Lions, the 60th selection overall out of Eastern Michigan University and current member of the Steelers media broadcasting team. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, the man, the myth, the legend, Charlie Batch.
Hey, what's going on, man? I'm excited to finally be on the show, and I really have to give props to my agent, Miss Kayla. Man, my agent, Kay, she hooked this interview up, and I appreciate my agent working wonderful behind the scenes on getting this accomplished.
I will make sure that your agent, my daughter, definitely hears that message, okay? but see, Batch, man, talk to me a little bit here. Obviously, the Steelers have been struggling on offense, man. But from your perspective, as a former quarterback, man, what has been the biggest issues with the Steelers offensively?
Well, I think for me, it starts with just an identity. We don't really know what the identity of the football team is. Early on in the year, they started to run the ball. They had some success there early on, a couple 100-yard games, rushing. And then all of a sudden it took a turn because they weren't able to run the football. They tried to use this short passing game. And fortunately for the Steelers, it worked at the beginning. But as defensive coordinators now saw that 4-game breakdown, they realized that, wait a minute, if we now get in front of these guys and take away that short catch, they're going to struggle. And that's what you're seeing right now. And that's exactly what happened over the last 3 games with this team losing as many as they did thus far.
And now the hurry-up offense has been talked about a lot this year in terms of just how it operates. Is it drawn up in the sand, or is there a pre-selected menu? So just tell us the process of when you see Ben going to hurry-up offense, man. What all is going on right there?
Yeah, when you're going hurry-up offense and no huddle, essentially, as you're kind of pressing the tempo a little bit. And a lot of that comes down during the course of the week. You have many meetings that are going on with the offensive coordinator, and you kind of get a sense on, number one, why he created a game plan in the manner that he did. And then from there, you're learning that thought process throughout the course of the week on what to attack by the defense. So when you do get in game situations and you're running that no huddle and that hurry up offense, you're essentially, yes, the quarterback is calling the plays, but you are essentially calling what the offensive coordinator put together in the game plan. So it's, so a lot of people say, oh, well, the coordinator is not involved. Well, yes, he is. He was during the course of the week. It's just not at the point of the play being called at the line of scrimmage. So that goes hand in hand, and that's a lot of communication that happens throughout the course of the week.
Got you. So essentially, like you said, then quarterback has his menu that they've already agreed upon prior to the game, and then from there, he can just decide while he's at the line of scrimmage which one he would like to go to. Correct?
Yes, absolutely. And a lot of that depends on, if you know, based off those multiple formations that you're showing earlier in the game, now you can predict kind of based off a personnel group that you put in the game that the defense is now going to substitute in a manner that's a favorable position to you. So that if you know that you can have that happen on first down, that's where you immediately start pressing the line of scrimmage because you know you have a favorable matchup to your side.
Now, just talk about, man, how difficult is that? I mean, obviously we played the video games, right? Where you go hurry up and it's simple. Oh yeah, I just check that route, this route, and that route. But man, what's going through your head as the quarterback there, man? Are you checking defenses? Obviously, you worry about protections. Like, what all is going through your mind?
Well, you want to see what the substitution package is on the defensive side, because if you're coming in with nickel personnel, meaning 1 tight end, 3 receivers, and the defense stays with a base personnel, and you know that a linebacker is lined up on your slot, guess what? We're going to pass the ball because I know my slot should be able to beat that linebacker in that position.
Yeah.
Right. So now, or if the defense substitutes and they bring in a nickel guy that's going to cover your slot defender, you say, you want to what? Our matchup now benefits us by running the football because we have the numbers inside the box. So you'll see a little bit more runs that way. So that's kind of what you're trying to jockey to see if you can kind of predict what happens. That's why you show multiple formations early in the game. And that's why that first 10 to 15 plays are critical, because of your substitute now it hopefully gives you some type of indication of how the defense is going to substitute when you bring those different personnel groups in.
Now, is this true? The backup quarterback position is the best position in the NFL. Is that a myth or is that reality?
Well, it's a little bit of both. And, because what happens is, the backup quarterback gets talked about a lot. But guess what? Once he enters the game, he gets exposed. Either he can play or he can't play. So you've had, I've seen quarterbacks over the years who've been a backup 5, 6, 7 years in some systems, and then all of a sudden they get thrown in the game, and then you're like, okay, this dude can't play. And then you never see that player again in the league.
Yeah.
But then when you do have a backup, yes, he gets in the game and has success, you have to prove that you had to go out there and win some ball games. And if you do, that allows you the longevity to be able to sustain in this league. And that's where a lot of people look at me and they say, well, Charlie, you were the backup. Well, people fail to forget that I did start my first 4 years in Detroit. Mm-hmm. So that game experience that happened and I was able to get under my belt helped fulfill me later on in my career when I had to now play when I was with the Steelers to go out there and win ball games and now lean on that experience that I've already had prior to getting into Pittsburgh.
And you did win those ball games.
Absolutely.
Yep.
That's why I see best, baby. Everybody knows this. No.
But I think a lot of that just comes down to, and how coaches are in this league, Moats. You get to that point where, these young guys, coming out of the draft, they get excited about some of these things that they don't know about players. Mm-hmm. So they get more opportunities to be able to prove that they can play, and veterans sit around and wait. Once that rookie or so pans out, the coach will say, hey, big vet, we need you to now play and go in there and contribute. You're like, man, all right, cool. So that's just kind of the nature of it. But once you kind of understand the business side of football, when those decisions are made by coaches, you don't take them personally. You just go out there and perform, and hopefully you can perform at a high level.
Absolutely. Now, we know earlier in this year, man, the Steelers started out hot, man. 11-0 was viewed as the best team in the league. But recently, they've been on a little bit of a losing streak here, man, dropping these past 3 games. At this particular stage, do you still view the Steelers as Super Bowl contenders?
At this point, no. And the only reason why I say that is because the manner of the games they've lost. When you look at the Cincinnati team, you look at the Washington team, both of these teams are under 500. Yes, Washington was playing for something at the point, but again, it's still the fact that you're undefeated entering in that game. Buffalo, yes, they're solid. I think they now have proven that they belong in these playoff and contender talks. Right now, the Steelers, they were playing against lesser opponents. You lose 2 or 3 games. That's why you don't see the respect nationally that the players felt that they should have had during their undefeated streak. But right now, you're starting to see that. And the only reason why I say they're not that contender at this point, they have to prove not only to me, but to everybody else that they can win a meaningful game. And they hopefully can change my mind if they can get out of this game on Sunday against Indianapolis with a victory.
Now, we're jumping around a little bit. I want to go back to whenever Coach Tomlin first joined with the Steelers. You were only a few years older than him, correct?
Yes. Yep.
What was
3 years to be exact.
Yeah. What was that like whenever he came in? What were you thinking as a player? Were you skeptical at all? Was there anything he did to earn the players' trust?
Well, number one, he came in. He's a great communicator. And his first message in 2007 when he got here, the way that he commanded that room, the message that he relayed to the team, the players were bought in. They sold. He was like, okay, great, this is it. And nobody questioned the ownership group, because when you look at Mr. Rooney and the decisions that he's made, there's only been 3 coaches like that over the last 30 years or whatever the case may be. So those are so it made it easier for players to buy in. But I'm looking at myself, I'm sitting at 32, here he is at 35. And it's almost like one sense is, you're Coach Tomlin in the building, but when we leave here, you're just Mike to me. So it was like, we built that relationship that way, that it was a mutual respect, and he understood that, at that point, because we're both grown men looking at each other. You can't be in a restaurant. I'm like, hey, Coach, how you doing? So we were able to build. And I'll tell you the one thing that kind of got me was whenever this had to be one of my final years, probably 2012. And he's kind of looking at me, and he's, I think we were just coming into the beginning of the year, and we had a class reunion at that point. And, the coach said, hey, Charlie, this isn't a team meeting now, Mo. So just imagine saying this. So he's like, here we are in the team meeting. He's like, Charlie, hey man, how come you didn't tell me that your 20th high school reunion was last night?
Wow.
And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I got a game. I have to work. What are you talking about? He's like, I would have gave you off to go back to your 20-year reunion. And like the whole team fell out. They fell out laughing. And you had some of these young guys in the back, and they're like, "Whoa!" And I just remember a rookie said,
"That's a big deal."
Right. One of the rookies in the back was like, he said, Charlie, how old are you? I was like, I'm 38. And he was like, dang, my dad is 36.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what?
Oh,
and everybody kind of laughed at that point. And I said, you want to know what? Hopefully you're blessed enough to be around this league that these young guys will make fun of you one day as being the old guy in the room.
Man,
and we just all kind of laughed, and it was respect at that point. But it was just that was that moment that I realized, man, I'm getting up in age, man. And, maybe it's time for me to get out of this game.
Right. I will say this, man. It's a beautiful feeling, man, when you are able to be the older guy in the room, man. Now, granted, not to that state where I'm, going to my 20th anniversary, but still, that's a blessing, man. Big time blessing.
No, I appreciate it. It was funny. It was a funny moment during that time. And, we all laugh about it, and people still bring it up to this day.
I like it, man. And something else that people are still bringing up to this day, man, are your efforts in the community, man. What you've been able to do as a player and even as a retired player, man, your impact in the community has been felt for years, man, with your Best of the Batch Foundation. So just talk about the inspiration behind it and the current things that you guys have going on over there.
Yeah, a lot of people always ask that question, and they want to know why. And for me, it actually happened in, for me, February 18, 1996 was a date that really changed my life forever. And that's when I received a phone call from my mother and said my sister at the age of 17 was shot and killed. And she was caught in crossfire between rival gangs, and she never had an opportunity to live life. And I said at that point, if I was ever in position to give back, I would. So I tried at that point to shift all my time and energy to, number one, do something in my family that's never been done. And that was graduate from college, which I was able to do in 97. And then next was shifting focus, and hopefully one of those 32 teams would know who Charlie Batch was. And I was able to get drafted by the Detroit Lions in the second round in 98. And after that season was now an opportunity to now, cash in on that, and essentially created the foundation January of 1999. And we did some one-off programs in Detroit. And when I signed in Pittsburgh in 2002, at that point I said, okay, now we're going to redirect foundation goals to Pittsburgh. And we set up shop. And of course, I only thought I was going to be here 1 year. So I'm like, okay, let's get the ball rolling and we'll see what happens. But lo and behold, 1 year turned into two turned into 10. And here we are now, 21 years later, being able to now build on our foundation. And what the Best of the Batch Foundation does, we're an educational foundation. And we focus on reading, computer literacy along with our STEAM programs. So now over these last 21 years, we now service annually 3,800 kids annually. And we are in 8 counties throughout Western Pennsylvania. So to be able to do that at this capacity and this level is truly humbling, because we have so many supporters that believe in what we're doing. And in our building, we actually are busting out of the seams. We have 5,300 square feet. And earlier this year, we actually broke ground on on a 27,000 square foot expansion. So we now are going from 5,300 to 33,000 square feet. And you're talking about now, YMCA type of boys and girls club. So, that we're going to have in our area. And we call it a state-of-the-art educational facility, because this is what we're trying to draw these kids into our building. So we'll have gymnasiums, we'll have dance studios, STEAM programs, computer labs, music center into the building. So we're going to have all of this. So this is all what's needed in our community. So people who actually will see this, man, it's transformational, because this is something that's never been done in our area. And for us as a family to be able to leave our legacy is truly important for us to now be able to sustain and be able to do so for the next 20 years.
Man, that is big time. Man, it's a blessing that you're even able to have this impact and that you have a desire to. I'll tell you firsthand, man, you were one of the guys that when I played here, I looked up to in terms of what you did in the community. I mean, even as a retired guy, man, just seeing how active, seeing how impactful you are is something that I still to this day strive to get to your level one of these days, man. So just keep up the awesome work, bro.
No, I appreciate it. Anything that we can do on our end, we're definitely helping you out, because we're not trying to reinvent the wheel. We're just trying to create more opportunities for these young kids to be able to have the tools to be able to equip themselves to be able to make sure that they go out and make it in life. And that's all we're trying to do, create opportunities.
No, that's awesome. Now, one of the first things that come up whenever you type in Charlie Batch on YouTube is the Charlie Batch Christmas. Did you have anything to do with this? Did you have to sign off? Any creative control? Because it's pretty funny for it's like 3 or 4 minutes. Maybe you could even consider it's like PG-13. You have Kate, I think it's Casey Hampton walking around without a towel. So how did that happen?
Yeah. It was crazy because like in 2012, in 2011, 2012, we had some characters on our team, and everybody, they know the Beard, and of course, the Troy Polamalu's, but people forget about, the likes of Casey Hampton and how he was like that guy in the locker room. Like when he set up shop, and everybody stood around the circle trying to listen to stories that he told because he was that funny. And, we had a bunch of characters, and at that point, there was Vinstonium that was creating these different kind of cartoon characters and images and what you're seeing in animation space. So at that time, they actually created a Charlie Batch Christmas, and who was the Scrooge, and making sure that everybody was kind of being a part of it. So you saw James Harrison and Casey Hampton, Brett Kiesel, all of these guys are in the video, and it actually took off. It took a mind of its own. And every year I get a chance to post that on Christmas because it's just a reminder of how great it was, especially the genuine relationship that you build as teammates and becomes friends after. So we all sit back and laugh because there is a story behind the story that's actually being told that only we can talk about.
I like
Wait,
that.
so was that your idea then?
No, it wasn't my idea. No, actually, when I saw it, somebody sent it to me on YouTube, and I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. And to look at that, and then here we are, 8-9 years later talking about that particular show. So it's like funny between that on Charlie Batch Christmas, and then there's a Charlie Batch Thanksgiving. That's just a picture, but it's no animation. So every year I get to post those two, and it's just a reminder of how funny it was.
I mean, well, we already know you are a social media sensation. You're a star. Some people even confuse you with a very famous singer, but we know you're the man. just know that we know.
Man, a lot of people, and I know where you're going with this, Moats, too. So a lot of people, and it was funny because a lot of people over the years, they would think they would compare me to John Legend. They would say we look alike, and I'm like, it's not to compare because John Legend's a man, he's a star of his own.
Right.
But people would always compare and say, man, y'all look alike. And it was funny because around late 2000s, he actually came to training camp up in Latrobe because he was doing a show in Pittsburgh. Mm-hmm. So he came up and we took a picture, and people were like, man, I think that y'all really look alike. And I'm like, I don't think we do. And at that point, over the years, people still continue to talk about that. So when I saw him in Miami one time, I said, we need to update a picture because people still saying that we look alike. And lo and behold, a couple of years later, this February of this year, people who follow me, they know that I love when it snows because I get a chance to use my snowblower.
Wait a minute. Not just love. No. You love. Like this is your baby. Like we get excited for Christmas, Thanksgiving, a child being born, a birthday. No. Charlie gets excited like that for snow.
I do. And a few years ago, I had I had a snowblower and I don't get to use it. And every time, this snowblower is beautiful. And trust me, my neighbors, when we got the 14 inches just a week ago, I did 5 neighbors of mine, and they had no idea that I was doing it. And the only reason why I was 5 was because I ran out of gas. So I could have kept going. So this snowblower has heated handlebars. So I love it when I'm out there. So my point of the story is, whenever in February of this year, it was snowing, and I'm like, wow, I get a chance to use my snowblower. Like, I'm loving it. It was only a 5-second video. Well, people who saw it started tagging John Legend. So at this point, John Legend's like looking at it, and he what is it, the quote tweet that they use?
Quote tweet, yeah.
Quote tweet. He was like, wow, screaming through my messages, and I thought this was me. And now it really took a mind of its own. So that tweet was the first time in my career that I had a tweet that went viral. It was viewed like over 6 million times with this tweet. My Twitter follower went up tremendously, because people were looking and like, wow, we have an image, we're looking at John Legend, his brother maybe, those type of things. But it was just fun. But that's kind of the story. That was the backstory on how John Legend even became involved, but really didn't even realize that, he was a fan and all of those type of things. So it was a really cool moment at that point.
Man, that is an awesome story, baby. Awesome. Now, transitioning back to football here. We always hear Coach Tomlin talk about the next man up, and we've heard different next man up stories in terms of rookies who, got their opportunity, or veteran guys like me who came over after a couple of seasons. But obviously yours is a little bit unique to you as well, because you had such, a start in history prior to coming over to Pittsburgh. So just talk about what the next man up meant to you and how you ultimately handled those scenarios when your number was called.
Yeah, for me, it was, being in Pittsburgh and playing here, being from Pittsburgh is one thing. But, when you play here, you know how passionate Steeler fans are. All my family, is here. So it's a big deal. And when you get the opportunity, for me, it was I took it a little bit more serious than maybe what others would, because I know I wanted to go out there, play the best that I possibly could, but also represent my family, because if I played well, great. But if I didn't, that means my family is in town and hearing what everybody is saying negatively about how bad a performance that you put on. So I never wanted that to be the narrative. But also knowing, stepping in for Ben Roethlisberger, I knew going in, if we won the game, it was because we ran the ball and played great defense. That was going to be the narrative. That was going to be the headline for the next day. But if we lost, it was going to be because Ben Roethlisberger didn't play.
Absolutely.
I never wanted to be that person. So I always wanted to make sure when I stepped in, I was able to keep the train moving to make sure that we were able to stay on course until Ben Roethlisberger was able to come back. So I dealt that, and that's why I told and wore it with a badge of honor when I heard the next man up, because I know how important it is to the team, but also my family had to hear about the results because they were in town.
No, absolutely. And you were critical for some of these Super Bowl runs.
No question, baby.
Now,
and it was, but I think, a lot of that too on that next man up, but that also allowed me the opportunity to sustain a long career, because at the time, Ben was a little bit more reckless out there because he was running, taking on these hits, and he was early on in his career, he would always miss a game or two. So by him missing a game or two, that allowed me to go in and play and to remind the coaches and the organization that Charlie can still play. So when my contract came up, it was, oh yeah, he can still play. Let's just sign him to an extension. So that always weighed into to my favor. And then when I retired, that's when Ben went on a run where he didn't miss a snap. And I'm like, wow, I'm glad that didn't happen when I was on the team, because my career probably wouldn't have played out the way that it did.
Ben helped you out then. So
he did.
Yeah.
He did. He really did. And I appreciate it. He didn't do it purposely, but it was just the fact of me having that opportunity to play and show that I could still get it done and be able to play, especially when I was 38 playing in one of my final games.
Now, speaking of Ben, like him coming into the league as a rookie, you're a veteran. How did you build? Well, we talked about building trust with Tomlin. How did you build that trust with Ben? Because I'm assuming maybe he's coming in as a rookie, like really not sure about things, and you're the veteran. Maybe you're itching to play even. Like, how did that relationship build between you guys? Was maybe there a moment or a story where like you became his go-to guy?
Well, yeah, for me, it was, when I looked at it, when he was drafted in 2004, I didn't have control over that. So to me personally, it was no beef between me and Ben. So when he walked in that door the first time after the draft, I was one of the first to greet him. So, hey, what's going on? Boom, boom. So he knew about me. He knew about me because of our Mid-American Conference connections. I played at Eastern Michigan. He played at Miami of Ohio. So we know how hard it was just to work to number one and then just to get to the National Football League. So when I was coming out of the 1997, entering into the 1998 draft, there weren't MAC quarterbacks in the league. So I basically was that trendsetter to now go out and perform well, to now you started to see the run of MAC quarterbacks, talking about, the Dante Culpeppers, Byron Leftwich's, Chad Pennington's, ultimately, these Ben Roethlisberger leading up over the years. But I had to be that guy first to say, this guy from the MAC can actually play. And that opened up the door for other quarterbacks to be able to get the opportunity. So we bonded right away in 2004. And at that point, as every year kind of went by, I'm trying to help him out because I had some veteran status, the experience behind me, but I'm trying to help him out to become the best person he could possibly be. So we had to build that rapport in the meeting rooms. And then ultimately, when we got in the game situations, that he trusted what I was saying that was benefiting him and the team. and understanding that I was not trying to undercut him or undermine him in any way. And that was something that we set forth, 17 years ago. And we still have that rapport to this day. And I still talk to him, even though that I'm out the league, I still talk to him to this day. And we basically essentially are brothers because of that situation. But quite frankly, over the course of the 9 of 11 years that I played with the Steelers, I sat next to Ben Roethlisberger pretty much every single day. So we had that relationship and that rapport. And that's just something that we continue to this day.
Big time right there.
That's
man.
awesome. Yeah.
I like it. And shout out to you too, man, because a lot of veterans, they won't take that approach, baby. So big time respect for that.
Yeah, you had to build, you had to build it because you know how agents are. Hey, don't trust the veterans.
Right.
These guys start to kind of tell you some things that don't benefit you. And once we got past that, and he was like, wait a minute, you should have saw there were times in the course of the game that Ben would be talking and he'd run no huddle and he'd look over and be like, was I in the right play? I'm like, no, keep the hot on because the hot is better in this situation versus trying to get to the right play and throw it down the field. And he looked, it worked, 8 yards, picked up. He's like, wow, this dude really telling me. I didn't take credit for that, but it was a nonverbal communication as Ben is in the middle of the field. He's talking to me on the sideline.
Wow.
And that, no, this is what we're doing. And we built it. And the Rooney family, they saw that, even got to the point where opposing coaches were telling the referees, please keep number 16 off the field because they knew I was talking to Ben and putting him in and helping him put him into the best play possible. So it was just funny because the referee said, Charlie, we need you to step back. I'm like, I'm not doing nothing. I'm 1 foot on the field. You guys still got to step back. But that lets me know that these opposing coaches were paying attention to what was happening during the course of a game.
Without a doubt.
That is awesome.
I like that a lot. Dang, that's awesome right there. So you talked about a little bit, man, playing in front of your family, being in your hometown. Just elaborate a little bit more though, man. What was that like, man? The good sides of playing in terms of your hometown, man, being from Homestead and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, there was a ton of great things that benefited playing here. So I think it was good and bad. And I say that only because the good part was I was home in front of family and friends. I got a chance to be around holidays, birthdays, and fellowship and all these type of things. Now, on the flip side, the bad part was everybody wanted tickets. So I just couldn't accommodate that. And to be here and be, and they think everybody gets free tickets, because when I was in Detroit, seriously, when I was in Detroit, it was an 80,000 seat dome. So anybody can get tickets. They, you needed 20 tickets, you got 20 tickets. But then you now go from 80,000 to 65,000 seats, and they're sold out at Heinz Field every single game.
Yes.
So when they're limiting you on tickets, people still are going back to saying, when you're in Detroit, everybody can go. You got 100 tickets one game, and we all went. So they now took that approach to here, and I'm like, they're just not available, guys. Yeah. And so my mother had to kind of chime in, be that pinpoint person to make sure the ticket rotation and try to get at least, one game apiece for people to go to. But when you are here in that 11-year period, you go to 3 Super Bowls. 2 of the AFC Championship games are home. So how do you address that? So that was a challenge by itself. So I'm not saying it and looking at it in any negative light. It's just the fact that was the biggest challenge by playing home because the tickets just weren't available. And, of course, everybody couldn't be part of the Super Bowl runs that we were a part of. So that was the only downside. But anything else, man, that was great. It's been a great experience.
You know how awesome that sounds? That, man, the worst part was just all these Super Bowl runs. I couldn't get enough tickets. Oh, have mercy. Golly, just crush my whole little vibe over here. I'm going to just take my ball and go home, Chuck. But
when you go through that, as a former player, and you go through that, this is why the former players root so hard for the guys on that roster, because the guys on the roster, they're trying to accomplish what we were trying to accomplish before we even won Super Bowl 40. Because everybody talked about the 4 Super Bowls in the 70s. Then they went in 1995, but they lost to the Cowboys. So we were now catching up in that trend that we were at a point where it was 10 years since they've been to a Super Bowl, but yet lost the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. So we now had to create a narrative on our own side to now try to create what legacies that we were going to bring. So when we actually were going through that Super Bowl run in 2005, we were 7-5 at one point during that season. So nobody expected us even to be there. So we weren't part of Super Bowl talks, but we got hot at the right time. We won a Super Bowl, and that Super Bowl parade was unbelievable. And then at that point, as you're going through it, you win them. And then, of course, we all lost that last one, and we're all frustrated with that. But I say all of that to say, going through that and experiencing that and being part of a Super Bowl parade, that's something I'll never forget. And that's something that we all want active players to be a part of, because in Pittsburgh, they don't celebrate division winners. If you go to anybody else, they'll bring 70, 80, 90 people back to Alumni Day. In Pittsburgh, they don't do that. They only celebrate Super Bowl winners. You could talk about division titles. So that's a constant reminder that I tell these players, hey, 5 years from now, they ain't bringing you back for winning the AFC North. They only bring you back for winning the Super Bowl, because if that was the case, they would have been celebrated our Super Bowl 45 team that we lost to the Packers. But you have yet to see that Super Bowl team being celebrated because they didn't accomplish the ultimate goal, because the standard is set by the Steelers. You win the Super Bowl, those are the expectations. But you know how difficult it is just to get to the Super Bowl?
Crazy.
That should be celebrated by itself. It's a constant reminder that I always tell fans, but I also tell Mr. Rooney that maybe you should kind of change that a little bit, because players still want to be a part of it, but yet you don't celebrate the accomplishment that come along to hoisting that Lombardi trophy.
Man, you talk about excellence, though. You played with Barry Sanders early in your career. What was that like? Was there a moment where you're like, "Holy hell, this is like Barry Sanders. This is one of the best running backs of all time"?
Oh, absolutely. And I remember my rookie year, I started in my third game. We were playing the Minnesota Vikings up in the Metrodome. And the first play of the game, I'm supposed to hand off, boot away, and to hold the defensive end on the backside. Well, I kind of going through, and I had a fan moment because I handed the ball off, and I just stood there and watched. And I was like, wow, I just handed the ball off to Barry Sanders in my first NFL game. And the defensive end came and crashed down and made the tackle.
Oh,
So I looked to the sideline, and the coaches are like ripping me. They're like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I just handed the ball out to Barry. What do you mean what I'm doing?" They're like, "You're supposed to boot away your guy that you're supposed to hold, and he made the tackle." And that was just a real moment for me. Like, wow, like this is Barry Sanders. But playing with Barry, it made me want to watch film the next day, because a lot of times as you're booting away, you kind of miss some of those cuts and way that he made people miss. But when you watch that and on the game film the next day, you're like, wow, he did what? Because he didn't do that in practice. It was like, just a little lollygagging, jump cuts. It was kind of like watching Troy Polamalu practice. You're looking like,
yes.
Oh, okay, he got beat deep. And you're like,
he's gonna point over here. He's gonna point over there.
Right. You're like, oh, Troy got beat. Troy's like, I would have made that play. Yeah. And he just kind of goes, but yet you don't see it in practice. Troy made him in the games and made you say, wow, he did what? Mm-hmm. That was similar to Barry. Barry was the exact same way. You didn't see all of that in practice, but yet when you watch film, man, that was fantastic. You're sitting back and, man, this is it. And I was only fortunate enough to play with him for one season. And, of course, he retired in his prime because he probably could have played at least 5 more years. And that was something for me. It made it a lot easier with playing with a guy like Barry Sanders, because when there was a play action fake, man, those linebackers bit on it. And there was 15 to 20 yards between the linebackers and the safety. So you can hit anything in the middle that you wanted to hit in that particular perspective. So it was great to play with him. But over the course of my career, I get the opportunity to really say I've played with 2 of the top 5 running backs in the history of the game, Barry Sanders and Jerome Bettis. Mm-hmm. And I say top 5 because at the time of Jerome's retirement, he was top 5 in rushing. Now he's like 7th or 8th because people have bumped him. But that is something that I look back and say, wow, I had the opportunity to play with those 2 guys where many people don't have the opportunity to say that they played with 1 or 2 Hall of Famers, let alone, the guys that I played with.
Man, that is awesome right there. Shout out to Barry. Shout out to you for sharing the huddle with that man.
It's great, man. And I still talk to him to this day, man. It's great to be able to, see him out and talk to him. And, he's a great person, man. He's just as humble as can be, and I compare Barry to Troy. And those 2 guys are the same because those guys are both humble. They don't really like to talk about what they did on the field, but yet they're very approachable guys. And that's something that we've, that I've always looked at. It's like, man, these are, that ultimately, if you ever reach that level of stardom, you want to be that particular person.
Without a doubt, man. Now, before we let you go, we got to ask you this one right here, baby. You're welcome to the NFL moment.
Well, I have 2. Well, I think for me, the first one, even though, I talked about my rookie year, I just remember, it's Thanksgiving night, Thanksgiving Day. We always play a Thanksgiving game up here. And that game back in 1998, actually, we played against the Steelers.
Ooh.
And at that point, all my family, I knew they were going to come up to the game. And again, that was one of the examples on my ticket request, because that game, I needed 100 tickets because people were coming up.
And at that time, tickets 100 tickets. God.
But at the time, Moats, the tickets were only $39.
Oh, okay.
So it was a little less of a dent than what it would be today in today's game. So I was able to do that, and of course, some of them paid me back for the money. So it wasn't. I'm still on a rookie contract, so they felt bad for me at that point. But I think at that point, I'm playing against the Steelers. I'm going out for pregame. I'm looking across the sideline. I'm like, wow, that's LeVon Kirkland. Like, wow, that's, Jerome Bettis. That's Jason Gilden. Oh, my goodness, that's Bill Cowher. Like, these are all going through my mind. So that was me at pregame. And then as you go through that game, you're going back and forth and ebb and flow. And then all of a sudden, we go into overtime. And that was the game, if people remember, that was the coin toss.
That was.
And at that point,
that was
Carnell Lake. Yeah, Carnell Lake was out in the middle of the field, and Jerome Bettis was there, and we had our captain go out as well. So they go out, and they, that's when Jerome in the air, he said heads, and before it came down, he said tails. It landed on tails. The referee heard heads, and at that point, he said, "No." Now they're arguing. Did you say heads? Did you say tails? And they're arguing. They give us the ball. They're still arguing. In 3 plays, we go down, we kick a field goal, we win the game, and they're still arguing.
Wow.
So that moment right there, and even when Carnell Lake was on the coaching staff at that time that I was still playing, I said, at this point, that was a part of history, because that game was the last game that you actually can call the coin flip in the air.
Mm-hmm.
And that was part of history. So I was a part of history in that particular moment. So it was cool to be able to be that in that game in the manner that happened. So it was really cool to be a part of that in history. So those are things that I would never, I never forget. And you look at it. And I always like to say that, because every 4 years I get an opportunity to post a picture of me handing the ball off to Barry Sanders when the Steelers play them, and say, this is the last game that the Lions have ever beat the Steelers. So I'll get a chance to post that. I'll get a chance to post that next year when the Steelers play the Lions, and say, it's now been 21 years since the Lions have beat the Steelers.
Wow.
And hopefully that still continues to be the trend if the Steelers can pull it off. So that gives me every 4 years to be able to bring that picture out.
Yo, that is awesome right there. Charlie, man, you already know it's all love over here, baby. We appreciate you once again taking time out your schedule, man, to hop on the podcast with us, man. The fans absolutely love you, man. Just keep being great with everything that you do, man, and keep that impact off the field going as well, baby.
I appreciate it. Thanks. And anybody wants to follow what we do, they can go to batchfoundation.org, and that'll give you the opportunity to see everything we do throughout the calendar year.
I like it. Y'all heard it right there, ladies and gentlemen. Charlie Batch. C. Batch, man. Thanks again, bro.
Not a problem. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me. I'm
indeed.
So glad my agent worked this out. Tell KK she is the best. You owe her a Capital Grill dinner or something, man.
Hey, Capital Grill, that's your budget. You got that quarterback money, baby. Come on now.
That's why I said K deserves that Capital Grill. So you owe her. So you better give her something besides Chick-fil-A. Like, upgrade it, because I know she loves. Come on, give her something more than that.
I like it, baby. I like it.